So who are we? So basically, Cyrenian Scottish Centre for Conflict Resolution, and we support best practice in early intervention and mediation. And we offer a range of free digital resources, training and events to better support young people, families, and people who work with them in every sector to deal with family conflict, to improve relationships and improve lives. And what we're going to go through is our digital resources. So what are these digital resources? So when we created these, they're in order of launch. So we created the Monkey v. Lizard quiz first, and that's looking at reflective or reactive responses to conflict. And then moving on from that, we created Keep the Heat quiz, which is looking at responses to anger, based on Dan Siegel's model of flipping your lid. And then from there, we created an information resource called the Emotional Homunculus, which brings the science and biology together in relation to understanding emotions better. And our last one, which we've just launched just a few weeks ago, is called Three Brains. It's basically an information and a quiz resource, and looking at the mind-body connections. Okay, so why were they created then? Well, the reality is that every year in Scotland, over 5,000 young people aged 16 to 24 years old become homeless because the relationship with their family breaks down. And what we got to realise is that we identified that a lot of that is down to communication, how we communicate with young people. So we had delivered surveys, and the responses from the respondent groups identified a need for a better understanding of emotions, behaviours and responses to relationship conflict. So since then, the SACR has created these digital psychoeducational resources as a direct response to these identified needs. And we're currently undertaking a survey at the moment. So if you get the opportunity, please engage in that process just to help us develop further resources. And you can see there that if you take 5,000 young people, it's equivalent to about 5 high schools in Scotland that are homeless, and that's recorded. So we know the figure is a lot higher than that. And how it impacts on young people. So how do these resources work then? Well, we have Monkey v. Lizard. So Monkey v. Lizard quiz is an engaging way to begin to think about the way in which we manage conflict in family life and in other relationships. And depending on the results, offer different tips and suggestions on improving conflict management techniques. So the activity helps people understand which part of the brain they tend to use when faced with a difficult situation. Is it the reactive reptilian brain, the lizard brain, or the reflective mammalian brain, the monkey brain, or a bit of both? So the idea is that they do the quiz and they come out with a character, and that character then has an attached narrative to it, which allows then for that discussion to take place. We then have Keep the Heat. So the question is, do you tend to flip your lid, or can you keep the heat? Keep the Heat is a digital resource designed to help us recognise what happens internally when anger takes a hold of us. And by exploring the science of flipping our lids, we can recognise how to engage our thinking and emotional brain, and what we can do to help keep them regulated. So as I said before, this is based on Dan Siegel's Flipping Your Lid. So As our emotions rise within that anger cycle, our brains disconnect. But the idea is to show that we all flip our lids differently. And again, it allows the individual to then think about how other people are dealing with difficult situations. So again, you come out with a circus character. It's based on the circus of life. You come out with a circus character with a narrative which allows for that discussion to start. Then we have the three brains. Now, the three brains highlights the neural connections between your gut, your heart, and your actual brain. Our mind-body connection is how our head, heart, and gut work together to process how to react to the world around us. Our physical and mental health are connected and affect our emotions. With the reverse is true as well. If the mind-body connection is strong, then people tend to be able to manage their relationships better. So with this, the concept is music. So we have a band, and the band members are gut on bass, heart on drums, and the brain as the lead guitarist. And the idea is that if they don't play in tune or if they're out of harmony, then they don't particularly make good music. So it's crucial for them to then get them playing in sync so that they can create good music and create these successful records. So the resource you can go on, you can meet each member of the band, which gives narrative for that part, either the gut, heart, or brain. And also linked to that, there are mindful videos that allows individuals then to look at how they could then relax by doing these mindful exercises. And then from there, you can then go over and do the quiz, answer the quiz, and you can identify whether you're playing in harmony or you're not playing in harmony. Our last one is the emotional homunculus, and this is an information resource. It's an interactive information resource to explore the science of emotions and the discovery of how your cranial cocktail can affect how you feel in different emotional states. And again, our emotional states determine which chemicals are released into the bloodstream for safety and survival, depending on previous experiences or triggers. And if we can understand what's happening in our brains and our minds and in our bodies and how we feel, then we can relearn to respond and react differently. So what you have here is you have a set of emotional states. So rest and digest, alert and engaged, anxious and afraid, fight or flight, and freeze and shut down. So arguably 5 key states. And with that, you can use these resources to talk about how you feel externally and how you feel internally. And then as you scroll down the resource, you can see how those emotions are being created through the neurochemicals that are being released within the brain. And what we have done is we have used user-friendly language to make it more accessible. So we have things like adrenaline called the action drug, oxytocin called the love drug, dopamine called the joy drug. So young people can engage with it better, giving them a better understanding of what's happening. So for each state, there'll be a cocktail of these neurochemicals. And the website allows you to interact with that. And then you can move from state to state and just see which mixes are happening within the neurochemicals. And it highlights the fact is that if we can change the way we think, we can change that particular mix, that cocktail. So the idea is that they can release different neurochemicals to start affecting how they feel emotionally. So it allows them to start thinking about emotional regulation. How do they modify some of the thoughts and the feelings that they have? I think the feelings are the reaction, the emotions are the responses, and the behaviors are the presentation of that. So it's a very useful resource in terms of delivering that information. So how can they be used? Well, the resources that we have, we worked in collaboration with Dr. Sarah Watkin for these resources and Professor Judith Pratt for our latest resource. And our resources outcomes have been mapped against the Scottish National Performance Framework, the Curriculum of Excellence Health and Wellbeing Strand, GURFIC and SHANARI, the Wellbeing Indicators, and Scotland's Mental Health Strategy 2017 to 27. And you can get this on the website as well. So you have this resource booklet on the website, which you can download and print off or just read digitally. So educators can actually use them to support existing curriculum topics and in additional support settings. And they can be used in self-study and curriculum programs, whether to highlight the science of emotions or to start the conversation with young people about emotional regulation, social interaction, behaviours, and relationships. So our approach takes science and art and physiological practice and makes these resources relevant and universally accessible and engaging to the largest possible audience. By taking complex concepts and simplifying them through narrative and a visual journey, developing and creating multimedia digital resources hosted on the website. So we commissioned bespoke illustrations and artwork created specifically for developing and the design to bring these resources to life. And we created films and animations to explain and illustrate some of the brain activity and emotional responses, so that it can be delivered in a jargon-free language with graphics designed to appeal to multiple audiences. And again, integrating the digital available resources allows then to use them more freely. So you can use them in a digital space, or you can download all these resources. At the moment, the only one we're putting together at the moment is the 3 Brains one, but at some point there will be hard copy resources for that as well. But for the others, you have access to the hard copy resources to download as well. So when we talk about the resources, they can be used in the community and family settings, basically to complement and support existing practice or programs. And as I said before, not only do you have these resources on our website, but you have the Mindful videos, our Hacked Off series, and animations, which you can use as well to support these resources. So the impact in the SCRN 2016 National Survey responses included young people and parents, and they acknowledged that they found it difficult to manage their emotions, in particular anger, and were keen to understand why. So they saw themselves presenting with this anger, but didn't understand why it was happening. Why were they being triggered? Since we have launched these resources, they've helped individuals to move on. So, as a case study, a young man in kinship care had anger issues, which was affecting every aspect of his life. He was introduced to the SCR digital resources and within his own time used the resources to understand his emotions better to a point where he was able to reflect on his behaviours and reconnect with his carer and others more positively and move forward in his life. In respect of families, another case study, a family were in general conflict with each other when a parent called a family meeting to address the conflict. The meeting started with the family taking the Monkey V Lizard quiz, breaking the ice and having a light-hearted conversation about the results, and then going for a family walk to reconnect again. In an educational setting, another case study, a teacher created a mental health and wellbeing corner in a classroom by displaying the cranial cocktail resources on the walls. Another had used the resources while supporting pupils with additional support needs, highlighting that the graphics were helpful in connecting with young people. And in community settings, case study, a youth worker had presented at a SCCR Scottish Government reception event that they had delivered a session on emotions and the brain, and it was the only time they had experienced at the end of a session where the young people knew the scientific names of the neurochemicals affecting their emotions. So you're only limited by your imagination and how you can use these resources. They are free, they are accessible, and they are supported by other digital resources on the website. Conflict animations and mindfulness activities. So hopefully that has provided you with relevant information on the SCCR resources. Feel free to explore the website. Feel free to tell young people about the website. Even if they don't use it at the moment, they will know now that they have an additional resource that they can access when they do need to. Or build it in to the educational setting and provide individuals with the knowledge base that they can then go on to look at how emotions play out and how they can regulate them. And contact us. You know, we welcome any contact or comment if you need further information or training.